My lords, it has long been a dream of mine to create an invincible battleship. Indeed, many years ago now, I attempted to do so with the Juggernaut. However, times change and we have access to new and powerful technologies, and based on experiments we did last week with the Paladin ship, I want to try again. Today I'm going to answer the question of can we make one truly invulnerable ship that's powerful enough to conquer the galaxy? Let's get into it. I've thought about this for a while, and there's several approaches to explore, as defense is not a one-size-fits-all. The four approaches that I intend to test today are evasion, speed and power, regeneration, and damage reduction. All of these, I think, are different avenues that could end up in the same place with an invulnerable ship. But let's begin with evasion, as I think this is probably the least likely of the three to work for most scenarios, but it will be useful for specific niches, and mechanically it's also quite interesting in how it all comes together. So what is it? Evasion is the stat that determines whether an enemy weapon can hit you or not. Very concisely, weapons have accuracy. Accuracy is capped at 100%, and some weapons have a lower base accuracy than 100% and will need boosts to get all the way to 100. Evasion reduces accuracy. Accuracy is also sometimes called chance to hit. Via evasion, this means that your chance to hit can go to 0 or below 0. With a really simple example, if ship A has a weapon with 90% accuracy and 0% tracking and is fighting a ship with 90% evasion, they will not be able to hit that ship with their guns. As demonstrated here, you can see our 90% evasion corvette outfly this battleship, which is equipped with quite possibly the worst guns in the game, the ancient macro batteries. You can see them fighting for around about 10 years and they never get hit, they never take any damage. Now this is a really hyper niche example. These Archaeotech weapons have an accuracy of 50%. They are truly terrible. And this works because the weapon has 50% accuracy and 5% tracking, plus the 15% tracking it gets from its sensors, but fundamentally the chance to hit is still below 0. Now tracking reduces evasion. In this example, the corvette gets knocked down to only 70% evasion, but because that's still higher than the 50% accuracy of the gun, no shots can land. Thus, evasion is a really effective method to become invulnerable against some niche targets, and 90% is actually really easy to achieve for corvette swarms or Fallen Empire escorts. Now the issue we face is how viable this is going to be in the wider galaxy. Sadly, we cannot rely on our enemies being stupid enough to only use ancient macro batteries. So the question must be asked, is this a viable strategy against something worth fighting, like a crisis level event? Probably not, but it's still going to be useful. The sweet spot is going to be around 70% accuracy with 0% tracking, but remember the ship's sensors do give flat tracking, as does the computer depending on how it's set up. Zro launchers, being the meta weapon at the moment, is a great test for this. They have 75% accuracy and 0% tracking, thus 90% evasion would mean it's impossible for them to hit the target. The default Tier 5 tachyon sensor component gets you to 0% chance to hit, so you would need tracking boosts to actually land any shots against a corvette swarm at 90% evasion. That would certainly be a viable target for this sort of setup. That said, if you're running cruisers with Zro launchers, you probably have something like missiles in the other slot. Missiles have 100% accuracy, so that would be how you deal with a corvette swarm. Indeed, another way of squeezing out maximum potential for evasion is to use bioships, specifically Weavers. Weavers have around a base of 60% evasion when decked out in a mix of Tier 5 and Tier 6 components, as you can see displayed on screen now. What they do have though is unique and special weapons that boost effective evasion and reduces tracking. The adaptive tendrils increase evasion chance of friendly ships by a flat 30. I note that's not a percentage, this will increase your ship's evasion by 30, which is really good, particularly on larger vessels. And they also have an offensive weapon, a tracker stopper. Now this is super handy as it reduces enemy tracking by a flat 25%, sort of boosting your evasion by another effective 25. This is actually incredibly powerful when used in conjunction with larger ships, just as the evasion one. As I mentioned, they benefit a lot more from flat evasion bonuses than the smaller ships. But that's for another day. What these buffs allow us to do is effectively get our weavers up to 90% evasion and reduce all enemy ship tracking by 25. Meaning in theory, we are invulnerable to any weapon with less than 90% accuracy and under 25 tracking. Though remember the sensors give them 15, so really it's 10% tracking. Sadly, in reality, this doesn't really work, because it means every ship in your Weaver fleet must be buffed, and every enemy ship must be debuffed. These Weaver weapons have a short range, and there's almost always going to be a window where you'll get attacked and your ships will take damage, and therefore you won't be able to debuff all of the enemy ships either. I do think it's a viable strategy if you outnumber your opponent and be prepared to lose some ships in each exchange. I think that more or less concludes our section on evasion. I do think it has potential and can be used to great effect. Corvette swarms in particular can certainly deal with Zro launcher fleets with ease, and any battleship fleet lacking strikecraft. But invulnerable, they are not. Incidentally, the easy counter to this is to use strikecraft, as they have 100% accuracy and 100% tracking, meaning unless there is some anti-tracking shenanigans going on, they will always do damage. But of course today we're here to explore invulnerability, and while technically not invulnerable, the old adage of best defense is a good offense, and I've still got the Weaver test running, let's try out the Havoc Storm. I absolutely subscribe to offense beats defense, and generally a good battleship Alpha Strike will deal with most of the problems the galaxy throws at us. Of course I won't go into that because it's not exactly a niche strategy, but Weavers have really interesting mechanics, and Havoc Storm is a component that confuses enemy vessels. Confused ships lose the ability to differentiate between friend and foe, meaning that in combat they'll shoot at friendly ships and enemy ships alike. That sounds really wonderful, right? Alas, it's a bit rubbish, as shown by this demonstration of one Weaver fleet versus two AI fleets of regular bioships. They get soundly beaten. Not ideal, and to make matters worse, in a scenario when you're fighting a single enemy like a Behemoth or Satana, they don't do anything because there are no friendlies in system for the Behemoth or Satana to attack. But what about the other special effect weapons that exist? Well, the psionic Terrify effect exists, and Terrify is jolly wonderful indeed. Terrify means that affected ships will stop attacking and attempt to flee their attacker. This is truly fantastic, and a way to simply prevent your enemy from attacking you at all. That's a sort of technical invulnerability, right? Right, but it does have a bit of a rubber band, as the larger the enemy ship, the far less likely it can be affected by the mechanic. Indeed, if we delve into the bowels of the code, we can see the chance to Terrify is based on ship size. i.e., if you see on screen now, if the ship size is less than 2, the chance to Terrify it is 25%. Now, that's odd, right? Because the smallest ship size is 5. Well, remember Shadows of the Shroud was made before the ship size change. It seems that it was never updated. A big oops, perhaps. But what this means is that now any ship larger than size 16, so a cruiser and upwards, has only a 1% chance of being affected by Terrify, whereas based on the sizes of when it was written, a cruiser should have had a 10% chance of being affected. Anyway, one bug report at a time, the end result for us is going to be the same, as I'm not interested in terrifying battleships. I want to mess around with something much, much larger. But let's look at the theory. Anything larger than 16 size, so a cruiser and up, has a 1% chance to be terrified, and that means it will be out of action for 5 days. Given that Psionic Lightning has 100% accuracy, the chance to roll that 1% using 100 guns is around 63.4%, for math reasons beyond me. Apparently, 459 guns are needed for a 99% chance to actually hit that 1% mark. But for total completeness, let's just go higher, and since we have 4 guns per ship, we'll use 300 ships, giving us 1200 guns and a 99.99 repeating chance that we'll hit the Terrifier with each volley. And hurrah, it works. See how the mighty behemoth falls, and you can tell that this isn't a bug and that it's working. You see, initially you can see the behemoth doing damage to our fleet, but then the stun lock begins and the behemoth damage stops. A quick test on Satana confirms the result. Any ship, even one as large as the behemoth or Satana, can be stun locked into oblivion, somewhat sort of offering you an invulnerable fleet. I also think it's interesting that despite the stun lock on Satana, she can still auto repair her armor, providing a marvelous segue onto today's sponsor. Auto Glass Repair, Auto Glass Replace. I joke, but that covers the niche weapons. Let's look at Regeneration. That's going to be the next port of call to test out our invulnerable ships. And I think it's gone quite well so far. We've shown how to reach invulnerability from Evasion and via Stunlock. But Regen, this is the OG of Immortal Ships, and it really is championed by our lovely Queen Satana. In any case, the largest ship that we have access to is the Juggernaut. At a base of 100,000 hull, it's a real beast, and with tier 6 armor components we get to almost 50,000 armor. Not bad at all. The key to making this work though is via the armor regeneration and hull mechanics. Satana's nanite repair systems work by providing daily armor and hull regeneration. Essentially, every day you repair a percentage of your total armor and hull. Now, I know the component says 25% hull regen and 20% armor regen. This may very well be true, but in combat, I believe these numbers are divided by 100. So at least proportionally we are getting a much smaller amount of regeneration per day, but nevertheless our overall number is quite large, and I hope that we can repair a good chunk every single day. Sadly, in my initial 2 tests, one versus a random AI fleet and another versus a weakened Satana, you can see it didn't do that well at all. We're just not regenerating enough armor or hull a day to offset the DPS of the enemy ships. However, if I go and give the ship 50 repeatables, this gives us a really nice solid chunk of extra armor. Remember, hull repeatables do not exist, and this tipped us just into immortality versus the AI fleet, and though I wouldn't believe it unless I tested it myself, our plucky little Juggernaut soloed Satana as well. I wonder if she's nerfing herself by flying into point blank range, as she can't use her large laser guns. Silly Satana. Now I'm not sure in all good conscience I can mark this as a win. Regen is only really effective on the Juggernaut due to its insane hull and armor numbers. Other ships are just simply not as large and they don't get anywhere near close enough to be viable. And to be fair, I think it's fair to say it's not that viable on the Juggernaut anyway. Which leads me on to the final test, and this is something I sort of touched on last week with the Paladin ship and the tank test, which I admit was somewhat botched due to the confusion on my part of how the Counselor trait works, the Paladin trait giving damage reduction. Now, broadly, damage reduction is a fairly new mechanic. It got added as flat and percentage reduction with the Biogenesis DLC and has rolled on from here. Flat damage reduction is really cool. This literally reduces the damage taken from a hit by a flat amount. Crystal forged plating is the main source of flat damage reduction. The large component reduces it by 4 damage per component. Since Juggernauts are the biggest ship and you can equip them with 21 components, 21 times 4 is 84, thus any weapon doing less than 84 damage per hit does 0 damage. Cool, huh? As you can see, a standard AI bioship fleet essentially cannot harm our Juggernaut, as most weapons do less than 84 damage. Certainly the smaller to medium weapons. In fact, a brief skim of the various weapons we have access to suggests to me that this setup means you're invulnerable to all small and medium weapons, all strikecraft, and all missiles, and only certain large and X-Lock weapons will ever be able to hurt you. Sadly, this does tail off somewhat in effectiveness when you're fighting larger opponents, and while you may be safe from the Khan and a fleet of raiders, Zatanna shows that the large guns still really hurt. You can see on screen now for her damage breakdown, but it really nicely displays that only the X-Slot and large gamma lasers actually do any damage to us. The strike craft and the smaller cannons cannot hurt us. Very nice indeed. And I also note that this was actually nerfed. It may have been as high as 8 damage blocked per component at some point, leading to 168 damage blocked total on a Juggernaut. This would have been hilariously broken indeed. But now on to our final test, damage reduction from a percentage perspective. As I mentioned, last week we looked at Paladins, and in an attempt to make the Paladin invulnerable, I wrongly assumed the Counselor trait was per level. Alas, it is not. It is simply a flat 2%. If you're interested in the Paladin ship mechanics, I suggest you watch that video after this one. Nevertheless, I've established that via a mix of the Defender trait and the Paladin trait, plus the Taunt ability, we can reach 92% damage reduction, and I can certainly find another 8%. Paladin Teamwork Training offers 2.5% per Paladin ship, so you'd need 4 Paladin ships in total to get to 100% on one of them, which is annoying. But what we can actually do with just one is use the War Doctrine Force Preservation. This is specific to Defender of the Galaxy, and it is an unlock. What this does is provide an additional 10% damage reduction and ship weapons range. This puts us at a total of 102% damage reduction. And my lords, I am jolly pleased to report that this works a treat. Just watch as our little plucky paladin flies around Zatanna's system completely immune to damage. Bear in mind this is set at 200x Zatanna, so she's as strong as she gets. All the while our little paladin is completely immune to any and all damage. Marvellous. I am jolly happy that we managed to get it there. I'm not really sure whether this makes the Paladin ship worth it or not. I guess it certainly increases its stock, since it's more usable now and it's certainly a viable ship for 3 months of combat at least. Entirely invincible, and it's acting as a proper tank with 1000% focus fire. However, there is one more vessel I can think of that can reach the peaks of over 100% damage reduction, and that award falls to the mighty Behemoth. But there are a few hoops to jump through. To achieve this, you must get to the final Behemoth stage where you have the growing pain situation. As part of this situation, you get mutation choices as your Behemoth becomes stronger and stronger. The choices allow you to personalize it somewhat. One of the choices relates to defense. Choosing We Will Never Surrender provides you with a lovely 25% damage reduction. Now sadly, this is the only mutation regarding defense that you'll get offered, but at the end of your quest you must face the mighty Elder Voidspawn. Defeat this creature of the dark and you will receive a relic, the Voidspawn Myocardium. This beauty offers a unique bonus, and you can eat it. I very much suggest you do this. Eating the myocardium will provide your Behemoth with an 85% damage reduction bonus and a 555% ship fire rate bonus. Assuming you were smart and you took the 25% bonus before, this puts you at a lovely 110% damage reduction. And I note this is not on a timer. Your Behemoth is now a god tier specimen, capable of defeating literally anything the galaxy has to offer, including a 200x Zatanna. Jolly well done. Just a friendly piece of advice, my lords. Gods can still bleed, and I would highly recommend you don't leave the galaxy. The hunters are waiting for you. My lords, but wait, there's more. Now, I had initially planned to end the report there, but of course, I forgot that Arkships exist, and they remain hilariously broken. It feels like reports these days are not complete unless we do end on an Arkship mechanic, so let's do just that. Earlier in the report, we discussed Juggernauts and armor regeneration. Now, I incorrectly said that Juggernauts are the largest ship we have access to. Though while in base hull output that is indeed correct, Juggernauts sit at around 100,000, Arkships are significantly less than that. I am confident that with a bit of spice, we can get an Arkship far higher in total health points, including armour and shields. Indeed, I hope to be able to make it so strong it is functionally invulnerable. Now previously when we've broken Arkships, we've used soldier jobs, combined with job efficiency to create glass cannons capable of destroying star systems with a single shot. This is going to lean on those principles, but we're going to chase defense, not offense. To accomplish this, we'll check back in on our one Arkship challenge build. This uses the magic of rogue servitors and job efficiency, combined with the special districts that Arkships get access to, the Ordnance Engineering District. While previously we used it to create weapons of galactic destruction, there is an option in here called Void Forge. This district provides armour and armour hardening per 100 fabricated jobs, so you can probably see where this is going to go, but I'll circle back to the district shortly. Arkships naturally have 36 possible armour slots, which we have filled with Tier 6 armour. Furthermore, we took galvanic synthesis. This means that each armour slot provides us with 1% armour regeneration. 36 slots gives us 36 regeneration. We also have an additional 2 from our commander trait and 5% from the destiny trait that you can get from Warform. This gives us a quite cool 43% armour regeneration total. I know, sadly, you cannot apply regular armour regeneration components to your Arkship. I wonder if that was by design, because they knew that we'd do something like this. In any case, 43% is the maximum that I could achieve. But of course, 36 armour slots also gives us a bucket load of armour. Indeed, around 90,000 armour as a base with these slots equipped. But 90k is still quite small, and it's not going to be enough to generate sufficient armour regeneration to become immortal. We need more. Now, if we circle back to the Void Forge, more fabricators equals more armour, so we need more fabricator jobs. Rogue servitors have a wonderful mechanic where biotrophies provide specialist job efficiency. Job efficiency essentially creates jobs that don't require pops to work them, but it still comes with upkeep. It's the primary way in how these kind of builds become viable. The build is shown on screen now. This gives us an effective 165,000 biotrophies, even though we only have around 100,000 aboard. These in turn give our specialists a 1646% job efficiency bonus, turning 11,000 fabricators into a little over 200,000. This in turn provides our vessel with an armour increase of 4,058%. This translates into 812 repeatable armour techs. This adds up to an insane 3.7 million armour and well over 2,000% hardening. Nothing is getting through this. Now, sadly, armour regeneration is quite janky in how it's all calculated, but I believe that it's 36 divided by 100, meaning that we're going to get 0.36 armour regeneration per day. If my napkin math is correct, that equates to around 13,000 armour regeneration per day, which certainly isn't game breaking, but given the total pool of armour plus the regen, it does give us a functionally immortal Arkship. Witness its power in these tests. The Khan and his fleets cannot touch it, nor can the contingency, who remember are set up to shred armour with their energy weapons. And you know what else? The upkeep isn't even that bad. A mere 17,000 minerals, which could easily be acquired via vassals. Arkships are indeed the broken strategy that keeps on giving.